today's mitzvah, the Rambam brings the verse Lo tevaru eish b'chol moshvotechem b'yom Shabbat, and the Rambam tells us that the sages derive from this verse the prohibition for judges to execute on Shabbos. The Rambam also tells us that this included in this prohibition is for judges to judge and run a court case, any type of court case on Shabbos as well. In today's Rambam, he also asks an interesting question he brings from the Talmud. The Talmud asks, we know that the Torah only prohibits to do melacha, but the Torah doesn't tell us what melacha is, as discussed in the previous lessons. It's only a halacha l'Moshe Sinai. It was transmitted orally. What this is, what is the definition of melacha? That's the 39 prohibitive acts. Nevertheless, the Torah does single out and tell us that you are not allowed to kindle a fire. Why did the Torah do this? What's the reason why the Torah picked out one of them and singled it out and told us that you were prohibited from doing this? And the Rambam brings from the answer of the Gemara concludes and says that lav lechalek yatzat, which means as follows. What would be if someone were to transgress a prohibition in the Torah that he didn't know it was prohibited, and he actually did two different acts, both which would be transgressing this prohibition, which again he did not know was prohibited? So the law would be that he would only have to bring one sin offering to atone for it. Whereas if someone did two different acts which fall under two different prohibitions, then he would have to bring two different sin offerings to atone for both prohibitions. So the question is, what about if someone does malacha, prohibitive acts on Shabbos? So the Torah just tells us don't do malacha, but there's 39. So what happens if someone did several of the 39 malachot? Do we say this all falls under one prohibition, and therefore one for all the malachot, for all the prohibitive acts which someone did, one only have to bring one sin offering? Or do we say one for each sin, one for each type of malacha, for each type of prohibitive category of prohibitive act that he did, he has to bring a different sin offering? So the Talmud tells us that it's for this reason why the Torah singled out one of them, one of the 39 malachot, just to show us, to tell us that each prohibitive act which someone transgressed is for itself, and therefore one would have to bring a different sin offering for each one of the 39 malachot which someone transgressed.